Welcome back. Now, there's a growing concern about the plight of workers in the education sector. These concerns stem from unsafe working environments, the challenges of dealing with teenage pregnancies, and low salaries. Unions say instead of teachers focusing on the delivery of quality education, they are faced with other problems. For more on this, we are joined by Ben Machipi from the Professional Educators Union. Ben, thank you for joining us at eNCA. I understand you had a conference over the weekend, and I understand, of course, the grievances there around rejecting the current salary increase, I understand, at 3%. Maybe tell us what was discussed around this and what you'd like as a union.
Thank you for having us as Professional Educators Union. Indeed, we had a conference and the number of issues that our delegates ventilated, starting with the point that you are indicating that the 3% that is offered to public servants, our delegates unanimously rejected the offer and viewed that as an insult and as an unappreciative by the state. Because as educators, together with other public servants, we are at the core of development of the country, making sure that the country is really developing in the right direction. But as such, we are saying we reject the offer because the 3% that is given does not allow us to live the life of people that are working.
And I understand, Ben, there was, of course, also discussions around the wave of teenage pregnancies, a staggering 90,000 pregnancies, we do understand, over the last year alone. Any stringent measures that will help tackle this scourge of teenage pregnancies?
Yes, indeed, we are appealing to the Department of Education as the employer to zoom in and be with other stakeholders in education to assist educators, because educators are at the cold face and there does trust at the end of these challenges that learners come to school being pregnant. Unfortunately, some of them experience labor pains while they are in class. Now, they suggest or the policies or the guidelines that are given by the Department of Education and Social Development that there should be special rooms where these learners should be taken into when they are experiencing labor pains. We don't have classes to start with. And the other one is that our communities, the clinics are far away, and some of the communities, even if we want to call it the ambulance, we have a problem that there are no infrastructures like the networks and so on. So our teachers end up taking the duties that they are not trained to do, namely to teach the learners, but they end up being involved in such social factors, such as making sure that the learners who are pregnant, they are taken care of. The other one is that, at high school, it's where adolescence is prevalent. So these learners are subjected to teasing by their colleagues, and you find that they are emotionally disturbed. You know that when somebody is in that state of affairs, it must be in the right mental frame of mind. So these are the challenges that as teachers we find grappling ourselves with, and there is nobody that is assisting us.
And another challenge, Ben Machipi, is around, of course, the violence that we've been seeing in schools, disturbing videos circulating on social media where teachers are assaulted, basically. Any discussions on how to grapple with this scourge of assaults against the teachers themselves?
Yes, we did. As you are aware, this problem of violence in schools is as old as mankind in our South African schools. You remember that there have been summit after summit, but at the end of the day, it is as if nothing is going unabated. So these learners come to school heavily armed, under the influence of drugs, and as teachers, we had to fend ourselves. You will recall that as teachers, we are not allowed to come to school being armed. So we are only using a book and a chalk to teach these learners. And you cannot even reprimand them. We are just lamenting as teachers because there are no tangible measures that we can take as teachers alone. So in our discussion, we made an appeal to the Department of Basic Education, again as an employer, to make sure that we are protected. There is safety at schools. Another one will remember that South Africa, it's a violent country. These things start in their communities and they spill off in the schools. And when they come to schools, they know that as teachers, we are soft targets. So we find that our teachers are subjected to these violence, and some of us, unfortunately, end up being killed by these learners, the learners that we are to teach.
It's very concerning indeed. But on the curriculum itself, any discussions there then, Ben Machipi, on the learning material? Is it equipping the learners themselves for the world out there when they're done with your matric?
Yes, it is assisting. Just that the appeal that we made is that there must be a synergy between basic education and institution of higher learning, so that what we produce as grade 12, they should be seamless as they go to tertiary education in various field of work. There must not be knowledge gap in when they go to tertiary institutions. So the appeal that we made is that let there be a synergy between higher education and basic education, so that these learners must not have the gap that way. But generally, we are trying our level best as basic education and also as educators to equip these learners that when they go to tertiary education, they don't find themselves wanting.
Okay, Ben Machipi, thank you very much for your time. That was Ben Machipi from the Professional Educators Union.